This video is going to give you a checklist to follow for buying your first home that'll help you through each step of the process so you know exactly what to do and what to expect. Hey, it's Mark Antonio here, and if you're looking to buy a home for the first time, it can be very exciting and overwhelming at the same time. You hear everybody always saying that buying a home is the single most important financial decision you're ever going to make, and for most people that's true. You want to make sure you have all your ducks in a row and you know what to expect as you're going through the process, because there are a ton of things that you need to do before you actually start looking at homes or you make an offer. With that said, here's a checklist for you to follow when you're buying your first home that will put you on the right path to make a solid, successful purchase. Number 1 on the checklist, start saving for a down payment. Considering the prices of homes these days, it might take some time. They say the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is when? Now. The thing is, you might not need a big down payment since there are different mortgage programs that allow you to put as little as 3% down. If the interest rates are low, you want to put as little down as possible because the cost of borrowing money is cheap. If you don't have 20% down, you have to pay private mortgage insurance, which isn't the end of the world because you can remove it later on. Number 2 on the checklist, decide on a reasonable budget. A lot of people max out their budget by buying homes they can't afford only to regret it later on. Just because a lender will give you a loan doesn't actually mean you can afford to make the payment. You can get approved for a loan with a monthly payment that's way more than you're comfortable spending. In fact, there are plenty of home buyers that have mortgaged themselves to the hilt, only to discover later on that they've become slaves to their home. Unless you want to live a life of stress, fear, and worry, and you don't want to have to eat top ramen every meal, don't go too crazy here. Lean on the side of being conservative and get a loan that you can comfortably afford to repay. Number 3 on the checklist, find a real estate agent. Now, technically, you don't have to use a real estate agent, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't for several reasons. One of which is a real estate agent is free to the buyer because their commission is paid by the seller of the home. A good real estate agent will be knowledgeable about your local market, will do all of the research and do all of the contracts, and they'll do all the negotiating on your behalf. And they'll do other time-consuming parts of the home buying process for you, so your home buying experience doesn't turn into a full-time job or a nightmare. There's no shortage of real estate agents out there in the marketplace. It seems like there's a real estate agent in every family these days, so it shouldn't be too hard to find one. Most people find an agent through a friend, so ask for recommendations from people you work with, people you go to church with, from your family, from friends that have actually worked with someone and have had a good experience. One thing I want to address is it might seem like a great idea to hire your friend's mom who sells one home per year when she's not working her day job, but you want to make sure that you work with someone that is a full-time agent that knows what they're doing, does it well, and does it on time, because a lot of things can go wrong when you're buying a home and you want to minimize as much risk as possible. Very important thing here. Don't make the mistake of going directly to the listing agent of a home that you like. The listing agent works for the seller and represents them, not you. The main purpose of having a buyer's agent is for their ability to counsel you, to protect you, and to advise you. And if you work with an agent that represents both the buyer and the seller, you may get counsel and advice that might not be in your best interest because a listing agent's loyalty lies with the seller. Number 4 on the checklist, get a pre-approval to determine your buying power. You want to get pre-approved for a ballpark amount you're looking to buy a home for. This is a must. You want to do this before you start looking for homes so you can determine how much you can buy. There's no sense in wasting your time finding a home and falling in love with it only to find out later on that you don't qualify for the loan. It's common for home buyers to get confused by the difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval. Getting pre-qualified is easy and can be done by giving a lender basic information, but it's pretty much worthless when you really want to buy a home. One of the first things that sellers and their agents are going to want to know is if you're pre-approved. The last thing they want to do is take their home off the market for 3 weeks to discover they're in escrow with someone that can't get approved for a home mortgage. Getting a pre-approval letter requires going through most of the process of actually getting a mortgage, where lenders are going to verify your income, your employment, your assets, and they're going to check your credit. A pre-approval letter isn't a 100% guarantee that you're approved, but it's the closest thing that you can get. It pretty much means that you're highly likely to get the mortgage as long as nothing major changes with your income, your employment, your assets, or your credit. Most good real estate agents will actually have established relationships with solid, credible local mortgage brokers and loan officers that they can actually refer you to get a pre-approval letter. Number 5 on the checklist, find a home. Make a list of what you must have, such as neighborhoods you like in certain school districts if you have kids, the number of bedrooms and bathrooms you want to have, or if you must have a single-story home. You also might want to make a list of things that you'd like to have, but aren't absolutely necessary, like maybe a home office or a pool. Your real estate agent can then send you a list of potential properties based on your preferences. And if you're like most people, you'll actually start browsing online on your own on one of the many real estate websites out there. It's one thing to look at properties online, but you want to get out in the marketplace and see for yourself what's available. When you find a home that you like, make sure you drive through the neighborhood in the morning, the afternoon, and at night, and on weekdays and weekends, so you'll get a good feel of what it would be like to live there. If you have the opportunity to interact with the neighbors, you want to do that because you'll be able to find out what it's like living there and if they like living there. And sometimes you'll get important intel that will confirm that you're making the right choice or even the wrong choice. Everybody says it's all about location, location, location in real estate. And the reason for that is because you're not just buying the house, you're actually buying the entire neighborhood. Once you find a few homes that you like, your agent can then schedule a showing to see those homes that you're interested in that you've actually already vetted. According to the National Association of Realtors, buyers typically search for 10 weeks and look at an average of 10 homes to purchase a home. That's the average. You could very easily end up buying the first home that you see. Now, I recommend looking at a handful of options because you don't know how good something is until you have something else to compare it to. Number 6 on the checklist, submit an offer. Once you're sold on a home, your agent will help you prepare your offer, which will include the price you're offering, establishing contingencies, getting disclosures, and setting a closing timeline. Once you know that's the house for sure you want to live in, submit your offer as fast as you can, as there may be other buyers interested in the same home and they may get in ahead of you. It's important to make a strong offer that you're proud of. If you make an offer too low, it might be overlooked. So if you like the house, you don't want to mess around here and make a lowball offer. The reason I say that is because it's very common for buyers when they lose a home to someone else, they get outbid or they get an offer rejected. It's very common for them to say something like, you know what, I would have paid 10 grand more for the home. Well, if that's the case and you really want the house, you should offer the extra $10,000 up front. The difference in your mortgage payment is only going to be about $40 to $50 per month. Number 7 on the checklist, get a home inspection. You don't have to get a home inspection, but you definitely want to because a thorough home inspection will help you identify any problems with the home and they'll help you determine whether they need to be fixed. You don't want to move into a home and discover that the AC doesn't work or the heater doesn't work or it has a faulty water heater or the electrical system isn't up to code and it's unsafe. A home inspector will check all those things and give you a formal home inspection report detailing all the potential issues. You can then ask for the seller to make certain repairs, but you don't want to get carried away with this and nitpick. You're not buying a new home. You don't want to ask the seller to repair every minor defect. The main things that you want to be concerned here with are maybe significant electrical defects that may cause safety issues, major plumbing problems that would interfere with the use of the home, the heater not working, major structural issues like a leaking roof or substandard building violations or termites or other wood destroying insects or anything that would be unsafe. The seller will either agree to make the repairs, only some of the repairs, or none, at which point you can ask for a seller concession where the seller will give you a closing cost credit and you can use that money to take care of the repairs yourself. Now, if the seller doesn't agree to any repairs or a concession, you can then walk away and get your earnest money deposit back, or you can buy the house as is. Most sellers want to sell their home and will agree to make reasonable repairs. This is where hiring a full-time real estate agent will come in handy because they can negotiate this for you effectively because they do this every day. A real estate agent can also refer you to an inspector they know does a good job. You want an inspector that isn't going to make mountains out of molehills, but at the same time isn't going to be motivated to overlook important issues just so the sale closes. If you don't know your agent very well or you don't trust him or her, you might want to hire your own inspector. But then again, if you don't trust your agent, you probably shouldn't be working with them in the first place. Number 8 on the checklist, get an appraisal. You definitely want to get an appraisal done. An appraisal is an estimate of the value of the home based on the comparable sales, also known as comps, which refer to prices paid for recently sold homes in the area that are comparable in size and in style. And other factors that determine the appraised value are the appearance of the home, the amenities the home has, and the condition of the home. If you're getting a mortgage, lenders will demand an appraisal to be done to protect themselves. The last thing the lender wants is to have the home appraised for less than the accepted purchase price. They want to make sure that they're only lending based on what the home is worth and not a penny more. Because if for whatever reason you don't make your mortgage payments, they want to have the peace of mind that they can sell the property and recuperate their money. The bottom line is lenders want to minimize the risk at all costs. Now, if the appraisal does come in lower than the purchase price, the seller will have to come down on the price. You'll have to put more money down to make up for the difference, or a combination of the two. Number 9 on the checklist, closing the sale. On the day of closing, you're going to sign all the paperwork, and it's a lot. And ownership of the home will then be transferred to you. The 4 most important things that you're going to sign are the settlement statement, which summarizes the final fees and charges, the promissory note, which is an IOU showing the terms of the loan and the payment dates, the deed, which transfers ownership from the seller to you, and the deed of trust or mortgage, which says that you agree to a lien on your home as security of repayment on your home loan. I hope this buying your first home checklist helps. Thanks for watching. If you like information like this, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell.